Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective here. Colin wasn't able to join me for season 3, chapter 23, The Spies of the Mandalorian, but he will be here for the season finale of the Mandalorian, don't you worry. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into, like I said, chapter 23 of season 3, The Spies. We open on Coruscant here, and we see Kane walking through through like Coruscant's like nightscape. We have some like really like kind of uh, techno-y kind of like music. It really feels kind of like Blade Runner. It really just feels like right here, this little bit that they wanted this to kind of feel like what a Blade Runner kind of futuristic kind of world looks like. And it was really great. I thought it was awesome. I thought they nailed that kind of look and aesthetic. I don't know if anybody else really felt that, but I for sure felt Blade Runner when she was walking through there. Super wet, dark, damp. Kane, of course, is meeting with an Imperial droid that, of course, is relaying a message to Moff Gideon. And, like, I mean, I think I called this when we saw her first introduced and when we saw her turn on Pershing. Um, excuse me. I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure she's working for Moff Gideon. And then we saw, was it last episode, 2 episodes ago? We saw Moff Gideon's ship. His transport ship was clearly like broken into. There was Beskar there in the remains that Tiva said or saw there, and yeah. So of course she's there talking with Moff Gideon, telling him about the Mandalorians. They helped on Navarro. The pirates were like kind of knocked around, and then like also explains how Bo and Din were both there, and he's like, that's impossible. Both of these factions hate each other. Like they would never work together. You can't be right on this, Kane. And she's like, well, that's why I called you with absolute haste, because it is true. It seems to be true. And then we like she's like, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. Keep me posted for anything else. Basically, and then we get the introduction of the Shadow Council here, and this Shadow Council is awesome. It's just like it's so great. But before we even get to the Shadow Council, the walk up to the Shadow Council is pretty wild. Like where we see the walking through like the red gates, which is very reminiscent of like the Duel of the Fates battle, right before Qui-Gon dies in episode 1 and everything. Spoilers if you're watching Mandalorian and you haven't seen that, but sorry. um, Gotta watch that stuff, it's important. And but this Shadow Council is awesome. Shadow Council is great. But we see the red gates. We also see more commando troopers that that like we've seen previously in like I think it's Rebels is really when we see them. Maybe a little bit at the tail end of like Clone Wars and stuff. In the animated series of that stuff, and then we get like tanks of like people clones, maybe, I don't know, next gen clones. It could be the troopers that we see later on in the like Force Awakens and stuff. um I don't know. I don't know who or what are in those tanks. But then we get the Senate Council. We've got a Hux there. We've got Commandant Hux, who's of course another Gleason, who I believe his son would be the guy in the First Order that we see opposite David. Uh, Holy cow! Adam Driver, duh, not David. Adam Driver. The Hux in the new one, the Gleason guy. I can't think of what he is. General Hux, maybe. But yeah, this is probably like his relative or brother or something in it, which is well, no, it's really his brother in real life playing Commandant Hux here in this little Shadow Council, which is pretty sweet. I just love it. But this whole Shadow Council is kind of it is wild. It takes a few minutes to get through. Everyone's kind of going through like the Republic's vulnerable. Like some of you are able to plunder hyperspace, and not get noticed too much. A lot like some of you are just warlords and stuff. And other people are like, well, no, there's still people, because the empire is all shattered and fractured, and like this is what we're seeing is the start of first order, of like what leads to like the start and how the first order came to be, and what we'll end up seeing everything in the sequel series. And so all this is like, this is really great. They start talking about Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is awesome because we haven't heard anyone talk about Thrawn really in this universe at all since Mandalorian Season 2, when Ahsoka asks where Grand Admiral Thrawn is, which is great. Like, oh man, I'm all in on this stuff. Like, this is so sweet. This was so great hearing him here. And then we also get Moff Gideon then, kind of leaning into this, who's like, I speak with, Moff Gideon goes in, like, you speak with authority about, like, Thrawn, yet he's missing from this delegation. Any idea when we'll see him? The one guy is like, the secrecy of his return is like very key to like us being able to win and take over like everything. And he's like, there's whispers of Thrawn, spoke of an imminent return. Maybe we need some new leadership here. Then they talk about Project Necromancer. They ask about Dr. Pershing's research. He was caught by the New Republic, and so his research is at least lost for now. And then somebody calls out, Moff Gideon was like, I heard you were holding Pershing on Navarro and conducting your own experiments, and he's like, the creation of clones are your thing, not mine. That's not what I'm here for. I can only account for what happens in my sector. No more, no less. And then Moff Gideon starts talking about how some of the people here are sitting on piles of like resources that need to be like shared, and they should be shared, and why they should be shared, so that they can all prosper together in this new order. And Hux, Commandant Hux is like, oh yes, we received your request for 3 Praetorian guards, worried about an assassination attempt, and he thinks I'm flashy. Some TIE interceptor reinforcements and bombers. What are your security concerns? And Moff Gideon's like, Mandalorians. Quiet. It's like, they are preparing to take back Mandalore. And they're like, oh god, a resurgent Mandalore will really hamper our efforts. And like, one guy gives a nod to Commandant Hux, and he's like, you will have your reinforcements and guards. And they're all like, long live the Empire. Title sequence. Holy cow. What a title. What an opening. What an opening to an episode. Like, this was so great. Then we cut back to Navarro, and we get, we see Navarro. We get a little couple of cuts walking through the town. They're rebuilding, putting themselves back together and everything like that. Then the Mandalorians arrive. Grief Karga's High Magistrate Grief Karga's droid is like, sir, the Empire is here. And, excuse me, they, Grief's like, you dumb droid, those aren't Empire, those aren't Imperial ships. Look at the paintings on them, and it's got the Mandalorian crest on the like bottom side of them and everything like that. So there is no like mistaking that these used to be former Imperial ships, but they are no longer Imperial ships. They are for sure Mandalorian ships now, and it's great. I love seeing these ships. They're so awesome. There's a beautiful shot of the armorer walking out of like her tent, and it's like an up angle at her and everything, like from behind of her, like literally walking out. The cameras inside the tent and stuff. It's really great. I love The Mandalorian. This show is so good. This episode was so great. It's so awesome. We see the Night Owls and the Death Watch finally meet for the first time, or getting prepared to meet, as the rest of the Mandalorian fleet lands all of the ships and everything. Paz goes to his kid and tells everyone to, get inside, take all the kids and have them go inside the caves or whatever. And there's like, these groups of people hate each other. We just gotta hope that they get along. That if they want to survive, they're gonna have to get along. And there's like a stare down between both sides. The armorer, ding, 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 clangs all of her stuff together and her forging tools and everything. And then they welcome each other. They make it. They say they proclaim. She proclaims that they're going to make a grand feast for them. Grief Cargo drops by a bottle, and is like, hey, that's not the only gift I have for you, Mr. Din Djarin here, Mando. They go back to Grief Cargo's office in the city limits of Navarro there, and IG-11 walks in. I'm sorry, we got to make that a little correction here. That is IG-12 walks in, and we see the Anzillian controlling it, and he's controlling it basically like, I mean, you guys have, if you're here watching Commentary Track, you've probably watched our unboxings here. You've seen me unbox Krang's android body. Well, that's exactly what this is. This is straight out of TMNT right here. Like, they take the android body, they put the little brain baby operator inside it, and then bam, someone who wasn't really able to move around all that well is now able to be like a real tall person, or like a real height, and like can actually move around like that. And like it's wild. It's crazy that they did that. And like, but it was so reminiscent of Krang, because that's exactly what it is. Grief Karga talks about what the Anzillians did to it. They stripped the memory circuit and removed basically everything and broke it down to just base motor functions for it. It just needs a pilot for cognition, and the best way to look about it is like it's more of a vehicle than anything. As the Anzillian climbs out of it and is walking past Grogu, he's like, "Bad baby, no squeezy." Literally, that line of "bad baby, no squeezy" is like one of the funniest things in the world to me. I have found that actually, I just keep laughing at it. Like, it's just so funny. It's just so awesome. Din, not into this. He does not like this. He does not like this because one thing that the Anzillian did do is that he showed that he can say yes or no. So he can actually communicate now to some degree, better than like just kind of giving a look and taking a guess and basically going from there. He can actually give a affirmative, answer to, certain degrees, as long as they are yes or no. And it's awesome, but Din is not into it. He's like, no, he's too small, can't be into it. And Grogu's just hitting no, and it's amazing. Grogu is like talking back, and he keeps saying yes at the opportunities of keeping IG-12. And so with having IG-12 here, it's just awesome for Grogu. Like, he's able to walk around, he's able to talk a little bit. They leave Grief Karga's office, and then they're walking through the streets of Navarro, and Grogu starts going up to like little street vendors and just starts eating stuff right away. And Din's like, whoa, what are you doing? You gotta pay for that stuff, man. Come on, what are you doing here? Like, none of that stuff is just like free. And like in the at the end, before they finally like leave and go back to the covert, Grogu squeezes a fruit, and all the juices like fly all over the place and stuff, and like it's really great. I just freaking love this. The feast is interesting. You know, we got Paz and wolves looking staring down at each other. They're ready to throw down. They're ready to have some words, if you will. We get a little bit of a speech from Bo-Katan saying, like, you know, during this feast, like, hey, we need everybody to come together. You know, we need to retake Mandalore. You know, retake our world. It is not cursed, but it is still dangerous. The magnetic interference is tough to. None of our like radars or any comms or anything like that will really work. So what we're gonna do is leave our fleet in orbit. We're gonna send down a small little scout team, get to the Great Forge, find it, scout the Great Forge, make sure that it's safe to bring down the rest of us, and then we will start bringing down the rest. And it's pretty great. You know, they recon. You know, they make a recon team. Bo is like, I need people from both tribes, from both parties here, to show up and do it. Din, and then he offers Grogu. Those two are the first two to, you know, volunteer as tribute. Oddly enough. Then we've got Casca, we've got Wolves, we've got Paz, and then we've got, you know, basically bunch of people from both sides then start taking up the opportunity to go and be a part of this party and do it. The next morning, Mandalorians take off. We get to the Mandalorian orbit, and this is great. Like, just seeing them all fly, get there. The Armorer, of course, also decides that she will be, like, one of the people. She's, like, finally, like, one of the last people to say that she will go. Then they get to Mandalore. They leave the following morning. They're outside of orbit, and then the small gauntlet, you know, Bo-Katan ship gets down there. The scouting team gets down there, secures the LZ, the landing zone for them. You know, they have no comms. They have no, like, radars. These shots, though, of the ascent into Mandalore, like, all the rain and the messed up, like, atmosphere and the storms and, like, all of it. Oh, man, it's just so, so cool. I just love every little bit of it. It's just so great. It's just so great. And once they break through that atmosphere, you know, you see Paz Vizsla's like, wow, this is worse than, like, I thought. And Wolves was like, I was here when it happened. And then they secure the landing zone. Bo and everybody lands. Everybody else gets off. And they start getting ready to get down. You know, Bo's like, below us somewhere is our ancient capital. Let's survey the ground. Let's survey the land until we find the Great Forge, and then, you know, let's bring down the settlers. All right, they have a game plan. Game time. Woo. Surveying Mandalore. Like, we get a lot of walking here. It's, you know, just like, you know, like, at least the trees didn't walk here. That's all I gotta say. We get something approaching on the horizon. Din is the first one to kind of notice it. Then we see this, like, almost sandy kind of storm, basically. Reveals a ship heading their way. The ship is filled with 2 Mandalorians and Skinny Pete. Awesome. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Once this boat shows up, they're, you know, they ask, you know, like, do you have food? You know, They, yeah, of course we have food. You wear the crest of the night owls. I should. Is that the voice of Ms. Bo-Katan Kryze? It is. They jump back over, and that's where we get the Skinny Pete reveal and the other two. And they were like, "We knew you did not forsake us, Lady Bo-Katan. We failed you, but our blasters remain in your service." So they got a few more Mandalorians that are on their side, ready to, they have been living in on Mandalore since the Night of a Thousand Terrors and the Great Purge, but like they're ready to just jump right back in with Bo and help her continue and like regain everything that they lost here in this world. Uh, and once they're on the boat, they're the captain of the boat is retelling story, and he's like, they took no prisoners, they bombed the surface twice over, punished us, as a warning to the galaxy of what happens of when you refuse to surrender. And Bo stops him, and she's like, "That's not true. I actually did surrender. The Night of a Thousand Terrors. I met with Moff Gideon. I submitted and disarmed the rest of Mandalore, and they would spare the Mandalorian cities and the rest. That's how Moff Gideon got the Darksaber. It was the only chance I had to save our people. He betrayed me, and I left Mandalore helpless to resist, and I left us helpless to resist the purge of Mandalore. And then like there's a moment, a beat, like nobody knew that, we as the audience didn't know how Moff Gideon actually got it, so like we've all kind of been waiting for this answer. I actually thought that we may not get that answer, but the Mandalorian takes care of us, like they give us the answers that we need, which is awesome. So like I was really excited. Like this was awesome. Like Katie Sackhoff like knocked it out of the park. Like she was awesome in this. I thought it's been great seeing her move from the animated Bo-Katan in Clone Wars and Rebels, and then being able to see her move over into live action like this. Like this has been pretty sweet. It's been pretty awesome. And then but there's this moment, this beat, and then the captain like kind of takes that all in, and nothing changes. He's still willing to like fight with her, beside her, like work with her and everything. And he's just asked, how these other Mandalorians survive? And the armor is like, we were hidden on the moon of Concordia. Deathwatch? Deathwatch is no more. We were divided into, different factions and fractions and stuff. It's the divisions that destroy us. United. That's what makes us powerful. That's what makes people worried about, us. Bo and Din have a little one-on-one talk here, which is pretty nice. Din's like, I had no idea why we were always taught that you guys were selfish, uncaring, and now I like understand. I like now I understand more about you, about what happened, why this, dark side. Like he gets it. He gets it a little bit more now, and and Bo's like Din's like, you've got this. Like this is what like we will rebuild it. We can rebuild Mandalore. And she's like, I don't know if I can keep everything together. I only have this blade. And Din then repeats something to her, being like, hey, I just want to let you know that blade means nothing to like me and my people. The only like I don't follow you because of the blade. It really means nothing. I don't follow you because of your station or bloodline. I follow you because of honor, because of loyalty, and because of character. That's why I serve you. And your song's not yet written, and I will serve you until it is. And it's a beautiful little moment here. We get a cut then to the armor helping out other Mandalorians on the ships who are sick, hurt, whatever. And she's like, these people cannot stay here. I will ferry them up to the main ship. And then, once everyone's strong enough, we can bring them down to the Great Forge. And, the armor's like, I'll take them. You guys all go forward on. And the armor ferries. Paz and Wolves are playing a board game, and they finally go at it, and it's awesome. It's awesome. This fight is just like ongoing. It's beat for beat, pound for pound and stuff with them, and it's awesome. It's just a great fight. Din's like, should I stop it? And Bo's like, neither can stop it. But the one person who actually can stop it does, and that is Grogu. Grogu stops the fight before both Paz and Wolves kill each other. Like, are ready to just murder each other in cold blood right here, right then. And Grogu gets between them and is hitting the button, stop. No, 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 no. And Bo's like, you taught your apprentice well. And Din's like, you don't learn that from me. And then the armor gets the ship into orbit, and the rest get attacked by an animal on their way to the Great Forge. And the ship gets broken. They all get to this lower portion of Mandalore where we always see where we've seen the ancient city before in previous episodes and everything like that. And they eventually enter what is found out to be the Great Forge. And the Great Forge is in absolute ruins, just like everything else on the underside of Mandalore here, of all their ancient cities and everything. It's in ruins. The fire was extinguished. They explain how, like, the captain of the boat explains how they only survived by traveling the surface. Some explored below. They never were heard from again. And then they hear jetpacks, which is kind of odd. And Din's like, more survivors? And it's not more survivors. It's not Mandalorians. It's more of the Stormtrooper commandos that we saw at the beginning of the episode. And this battle, again, I use this word all the time to just describe everything that I love. It's wild and awesome. this battle is great. Like, everyone's like flying around, shooting each other. Like, it's just an awesome, like, gangabuster shootout. Like, I love it. And then this kind of kicks off like the last 10-15 minutes of the episode, and it's just so good. It's just like nonstop. The battle is awesome. It's harrowing. The music is like killer during this. At some point they get to a point in the battle where Bo sees a chance for them to advance deeper, and she yells it. She's like, advance. Din turns to Grogu and is like, all right, kid, I need you to keep up. And they all like start running through through basically like a tunnel mine pathway basically here in the Great Forge. And they get through, they're still advancing, and then they get to an opening in like the opening in their tunnel that leads to like almost a landing pad, kind of like come and go kind of pad basically, of where ships can land, refuel, be put on a hangar, repaired, whatever. And then there's a huge crack at the top of like, because they're miles and miles below the surface. And then so there's a huge like gaping crack up there that would allow ships to then fly out and like start making attacks and stuff. And what we see is there's a bunch of like TIE interceptors and like just hanging out there. Bo's like, what is this place? And then they start getting attacked more. The back blast door is shut behind the Mandalorians, and it's shut in front of them, which then cuts off Din and 3 other Mandalorians. Those are in the hangar, basically. Din and the other 3 are in the hangar, while everybody else is trapped in between 2 blast doors. And it was an ambush. It was an ambush set up by Moff Gideon here. Din eventually like the other Mandalorians that are with Din get killed, knocked down, knocked out, whatever. Din starts getting wrapped up with a bunch of wires, and he's got his flamethrower going, and he's like spinning around kind of like a dragon, like shooting flame. And like, oh man, it's so great. But then Moff Gideon shows up in Mandalorian armor, and he actually has like 3 horns on the top of his helmet. Every time I see horns, I always just naturally think of Darth Maul, because Darth Maul has like the horns all over his head. So it's one of those things like, ooh, that's like weird and creepy, and I want to see more of that. And but he disarms Din, like gets his blaster and everything, and like Moff Gideon's monologue here is pretty great. He hits on a couple of things. He's like, I want to thank you for gathering all of the Mandalorians in one place. It's great. It is time has finally passed here in Mandalorian, and you guys are done, but it will always live on in me. With the Beskar armor and the next gen dark trooper, like your Beskar alloy will always like live on. Your way and your look and kind of stuff will always be carried on with me, and it'll be all of the best improvements because I will be in it. We took the best from the cloners, from the Jedi, and now from the Mandalorians to have something offer. We aggregated the best of the best to create a new army to bring order to the galaxy. Moff's like, I will we'll take off your fleet off the board. That'll be good. We'll activate so the bombers and interceptors get activated. And, we will be able to finally complete the purge of Mandalore. Din gets taken to a debriefing room. Bo, goes up to, Moff up by one of the blast doors and is like, should have killed you when I had the chance. Moff opens up the blast door to start shooting at the Mandalorians. He flies off. The Mandalorians get out of the blast door because Bo cuts a hole with the darksaber in the back. Paz Vizsla closes the blast door between him and the rest of the Mandalorians, and he holds them off. There's too many for him not to. And, Paz Vizsla gives himself up and sacrifices himself. And we see his heavy machine gun overheat, and it gets, red hot, and then he starts just beating people with it. So he's able to really beat all of the commando troopers, if we're being honest. But then we see the Imperial Guards from the throne room, from Snoke's throne room, from Return of the Jedi, in the red with the lightsaber kind of based ends, and they're in that all red. It's that basically exact design, and it's wild to see that. And those 3 end up killing Paz Vizsla. So that sucked. That sucked to see Paz die, because then you see him kind of fall over, and they just kind of linger on him for one, two, beat, and then cut the credits. So to be fair, we never see the attack on the Mandalorian fleet, which is probably what we're going to be seeing, obviously, in the season finale. This show is so damn good. I just love the Mandalorian so much. It's just so good. It's too good. I don't understand how they keep making this show so freaking good. But they do, and I'm continually blown away. But that's the end of the episode then. Final thoughts that I have, random thoughts, last thoughts on this episode. I wonder if we're really going to end up getting a Moff Gideon v. Thrawn in either the Ahsoka series, or maybe now the new recently announced Dave Filoni directed movie that will wrap up the storylines from everything in The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. So I'm really excited now to see where Ahsoka ends and how the new movie that Dave Filoni just signed up for and just got attached to and just got confirmed, how all of that will happen. So with all of that, I want to thank you all for joining me here. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective. This is Commentary Track Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 23, The Spies. I hope you all stay safe. Please like and subscribe to our video and to our channel. And as always, this is the way.